The following show is a Pod Avenue production. You are cordially invited to have dinner with the King. Pull up a chair and join WWE Hall of Famer Jerry the King Lawler and Glenn Moore. Enjoy.
All right, here we are, Glenn, ready for another, not only another great meal, but some scintillating conversation between you and I. And I just got to ask you, we're getting ready, and you keep looking down at your phone. What's the problem?
I know. I usually open the podcast, but I keep getting this text from a 502 number. I don't know who it is, and this person keeps updating me on. They said they're 20 minutes away. I don't know what that means or who this is, but they keep updating me how they're 20 minutes away. So,
20 minutes away from what?
I don't know. They won't say. I just keep saying, who is this? And they don't respond. And they just keep saying, on my way, be there soon, 20 minutes away. So I don't know, King. I don't know what's going on, but I guess we'll see. I guess we'll see what happens. But yeah, this is episode number 14, Dinner with the King. I'm Glenn Moore, joined here by WWE Hall of Famer Jerry the King Lawler. And Jerry,
this is going to be the 14th episode of the podcast. Amazing.
Well, episode 14, but the 15th show, because we have that bonus show with the Rock and Roll Express that we did way back at WrestleCon.
Yes.
And that could be listened to. We can go back and listen to it. People can go back and listen to that one on our iTunes feed. We're on Twitter at Dinner with King. We're on Facebook. We're on every single podcast app. And we get a lot of tweets during the week, people finding the podcast, but also commenting on listening. And Jerry, I know, the last few years, you were against podcasts, but you're actually bridging the gap between people who are longtime fans of yours. But
now, wait a minute. What do you mean I was against podcasts?
You were, there's a million of them, and, if you do one, you got to do them all. If you're a guest, I know how it works. I feel the same way sometimes because I go on other podcasts and no, I'm not.
Well, don't get me wrong. Now, I'm not against podcasts. I just had, and I'm not going to say a bad experience, because the first one podcast I ever did was with Stone Cold Steve Austin, which was great. And Stone Cold was one of the first guys out there with a podcast, and he's still going, and one of the most popular ones ever. And it was, I was really excited and honored that Stone Cold would ask me to be one of his guests on the show, and but it just when we did it, I was at my house in Memphis, and of course Stone Cold was at his place in Texas, and so we did it over the phone, and it just seemed to take forever. I think when we finished, and I believe he turned it into 2 shows, but I think I was on the phone with him for like 3 hours. And I just thought, oh my goodness, that was the longest time, the longest time of my life, And because and Steve was great, he's a great host. He knows what to do when he has a guest on. He lets the guest do most of the talking. So here I was just running my mouth, telling the same old droll stories that I've heard about myself all my entire life for 3 long hours, and so that kind of just gave me a, when I got through with that, I said, well, that will probably be the last podcast that I do, because it's just, it's just 3 hours of, and that's the way I thought all podcasts would be, So that was just my first impression of podcasts. But no, I don't have anything against podcasts in general. I know, there's a lot of great ones out there that are and really informative. Good old JR has a great podcast and has, he was one of the original guys out there with a podcast, and I've and that's the main reason I haven't done JR's as well. And trust me, he's asked me a million times, because I just know that when JR and I get to talking, it's liable to be a 6-hour long podcast. So, but I'm gonna have to do JR's. I'm gonna have to go on there and do it with him. But and that's one of the reasons that I said, I don't want to put guests on the spot. I don't want to go out there and ask for people to be on the show. I don't mind coming on here talking with you. Of course, after 14 episodes, this is getting a little old with you too. But just I'm just doing it because of the good food we get to eat here at my restaurant. That's the only reason I continue to do this.
Yeah, and that's why you said, when we came to the idea of doing the show, that you're only going to do the podcast for the duration of a meal. So that's why I eat extra, because I want to be here a little bit longer and try to get an hour out of each and every week. So that's why I always.
Oh, that's
why
the reason.
That's why I get second and thirds, King.
Oh man, you're getting you're getting bigger and bigger.
Thanks, King.
We're gonna have to cut down on these podcasts. So look at you're getting another text message. What does it say?
Well, and now they say 15 minutes away. So I don't, like I said, I don't know who this is. They keep texting me. They're on their way. Maybe someone's gonna come. I don't know. But King, back to what I was saying. People email the show. They didn't know what a podcast was until they realized you had one. So people are listening. Your old fans that are fans for yours for 40 plus years are now realizing what a podcast is, and they are listening each and every week. So we want to thank everybody, and the download numbers have been incredible. We really appreciate everybody listening and downloading the show each and every week, and that's what motivates us to do the show, because we see the numbers climbing every week. Well, yeah, no, it is great to realize that there are people out there that listen. And as you said, I get text messages, I get tweets all the time of people that, and it's I guess it's a cool thing. The one thing I notice a lot is people say, like when they're on their way to work or on a drive and sitting in traffic or whatever, or on their way home from work or whatever, they that's when they listen to the podcast, and I guess it is a cool way to pass some time, right? If other than just listen to a radio music or whatever. So and I really do appreciate everybody that's listening out there, and we try to keep it as entertaining as possible, but it's basically just me talking about what's been going on and my take on what's happening around. And speaking of that, what an interesting weekend I just came off of. Yeah, I saw a lot of photos of your time, still wrestling, still being effective in the ring, but also being escorted to the ring by very lovely ladies. Don't tell Lauren though. No, that's exactly right on that. I did a couple of shows, a couple of wrestling events for my buddy Mike Lombardi, who promotes some really great independent shows. He has Northeast Wrestling up in the Northeast, of course, and we did a show in Pomona, New York, at a baseball stadium, and also did a show in Waterbury, Connecticut. And the guy does a great job on promoting these shows, and he really works hard. He gets a lot of local sponsors behind him, and he brings in some great talent. I mean, he had a lot of people on the show. Mick Foley was on one of the shows. Ryback was on one of the shows. I saw Rey Mysterio was on one of the shows. There's just Jake the Snake was on both of the shows, and Jake, I had a chance that was my first chance to get to talk to Jake the Snake in quite a while. Funny story was, I guess, the promoter, Michael Lombardi, you think Jake the Snake, and that he needs to, the fans expect to see Jake with Damien, with the big snake, right? Right. And so I guess Michael knows that, Mike Lombardi knows that Jake no longer owns the snake, so he rented one. He found somebody that had a big old boa constrictor, and so he got in touch with them and had them bring the snake to the event so that Jake could take it out to the ring with him. And I didn't realize this either, but apparently Jake the Snake doesn't do snakes anymore. So he just said, I don't want to be anywhere around a snake anymore. He said, I've had enough of that. Apparently, and I didn't know this, but he said he's been bitten several times over the years by the different snakes that he would use to take. And I thought you always used, like the big boa constrictors. I didn't know they bite. He said, oh, hell yeah, they bite. And he said, I've been bitten enough times. I don't have anything to do with snakes. So he wouldn't even take the snake with him out to the ring. And after the stories that he told, I don't blame him. But anyway, Jake the Snake was on both the shows, and Alberto Del Rio was there, and with are they married now? Paige was with him. I think they're married. I can't confirm or deny that, but I know they've been talking about it via social media. Yeah. Well, anyway, they were on one of the shows, and so it was a good couple of nights. And I wrestled on both shows. I wrestled this guy named Sam Adonis. Now, Have you ever heard of him? I have not. Young guy, big muscular guy, and good-looking kid.
And apparently he's wrestling a lot in Mexico City. He said he's a big star in Mexico City. It was funny. He had on his tights and everything, and then he put on like a, I don't know, it was almost like a skirt-looking thing around his waist that came draped down to his knees, but with a big picture of Donald Trump on it, on the front of it.
I'm looking at my phone right now, and I'm Googling who this guy is, and he works in Mexico as a heel pro-Trump character.
Yeah, well, you can imagine. Wearing a picture of Donald Trump out on his ring gear is not going to make him very popular in Mexico. But I said, hey, man, you're in Waterbury, Connecticut, and you're in New York. You might, these people might not be such, they might not be so against you up here. But anyway, the interesting thing about him was not the fact that he wrestled mostly in Mexico, but the interesting thing about him was he is Corey Graves' brother.
Oh.
He's Corey Graves' younger brother. And so the first night in Waterbury, Connecticut, I go out to the ring, and that was the night, the first night in Waterbury. I was honored to be chosen to have Kelly accompany me to the ring. So she was my valet for the match, and she went out to the ring with me, and crowd went crazy. I mean, she's, as beautiful as ever and all this kind of stuff, looking unbelievably fantastic. And we get in the ring together, and then here comes this Sam Adonis guy, and he starts, he gets the microphone, and he starts cutting this promo. And this was the first time I even realized that he was the brother of Corey Graves. And he says, Lawler, I'm going to do something that like my brother has done to you. My brother stole your job on Monday Night Raw and has kicked you to the curb. And he said, and tonight I'm going to steal that young lady that's on your arm away from you, because when she sees how bad I beat you in this match, she's gonna turn her nose up at you, and she's gonna be leaving with me and heading back to he named off the hotel that he was staying in and all of this kind of stuff, So he put out this stuff that his brother Corey Graves had stole my job on Monday Night Raw, and I had to remind him, I was on SmackDown when Corey Graves took JBL's place on Monday Night Raw. It wasn't me that happened to. But anyway, we had our match, and of course he did not win, and Kelly left with me that night. But then the following night,
whoa! Does Lauren know about this?
Oh, wait a minute! I just meant she left the ring with me.
Okay, all right, we got to clear that up.
She didn't leave the show with me. No, of course not. I think Kelly is. Is she married now?
Yeah, she's married to a former hockey player.
Hockey player, yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
All right, sorry.
And a huge. She had the huge ring on her finger, big rock, to let everybody know that she was taken. So.
Well, hold on. When are you getting married? I know you and Lauren are engaged. When's the wedding?
Well, we haven't set the date yet.
Okay.
We haven't set the exact date, but yeah, we're engaged,
right.
And speaking of rocks, wait till she comes in here and check hers out too. But anyway,
all right. So
that's that being said, that match with Sam happened on the Friday night. Then Saturday night, I get to Pomona, New York, and I'm wrestling the same guy again. But guess who's there also?
Corey Graves.
Ooh. Corey Graves is there with his brother Sam. And I think it was part of the WWE does this a lot. They let the wrestlers and talent do what they call third party appearances, and that's if a promoter or somebody has something that they want a special individual on the show, they'll call the WWE and clear it and everything and tell them make the proper arrangements to have them booked on their show, and then get him there and that sort of thing. So I guess Michael thought that it would be good to have Corey Graves there along with his brother on the show. And I was pleasant enough. I said hi to Corey before we went out to the ring, but then it was crazy. I went out to the ring and they had Corey do the ring introductions for the match. And all of a sudden, he basically comes out with the same line of stuff that his brother had said the night before. that he had taken my place on Monday Night Raw as far as commentating goes, and that I was old news and in the past and all of this sort of stuff. And it really kind of got me a little bit riled up. And I said something I probably shouldn't have said, but I couldn't help it. I had to get it off my chest. Everybody may not agree with me, but I mean, he would kind of push me back against the wall. And I got the microphone. And I said, look, Corey Graves, I could eat a can of alphabet soup and crap better commentary than you do. Ooh. So yeah, he got a little upset with that, but it just laid the groundwork to made the match a little more interesting. And once again, I was able to squeak out a victory over Corey Graves' younger brother. But it's those kind of situations like that in matches like that where these young guys, and it's always fun to get in there and go toe to toe with these young guys that are up and coming and looking to secure themselves a spot in the WWE one day, as I'm sure Sam is. But and they always think, if they come in and get a victory over an established veteran guy like myself, that it's going to really propel them right into that open door with Vince McMahon and open arms waiting for them. But it's always fun to kind of spoil their dreams and aspirations there, or at least set them back a little bit when they don't get that victory that they were just sure that they were going to get.
So this third party thing with WWE, are all guys available for that, or just a certain amount?
Well, I mean, anybody can,
I mean, if they try to book, if somebody tried to book like Randy Orton, I mean, they can't probably do that, right?
Well, if he's available, I mean, the problem with guys like Randy Orton or John Cena or whatever like that, the WWE, they have them scheduled, and they book these guys and keep them booked as much as possible, and so, but yeah, no, I mean, I've seen any number of the guys, excuse me, make excuse me, sorry,
I think you're choking on the waffle fry.
That last waffle fry is getting me. But anyway, no, anybody's available for third-party appearances, and it could be wrestling shows, or it could be just appearances at a place of business. That kind of thing happens all the time. Huh. As a matter of fact, there was also over the weekend on that Saturday morning there was a big event in New Jersey at the Ramada Inn Convention Center that had 70 wrestlers at it, and people, and this would be considered a third party appearance. Edge was at that. Beth Phoenix I was sitting at the table right next to Beth Phoenix, and just all sorts of talent was booked at this thing. And this was a situation where people could just come in, and it was like a big, huge 6-hour-long meet and greet. People just came in and got autographs and took pictures with everybody, and so I was at that, and I think Corey Graves was at that. So that's an example of a third-party appearance.
All right, King. Yeah, geez, King, have some of your Diet Coke, buddy. Jeez.
Give me my Diet Coke. Hand it over here. Come on.
All right. I keep getting this text 10 minutes away now. I am getting kind of nervous. Because we never have guests on the show, and I don't. All right. Anyway, so.
Well, let me go back really quickly to what happened at the that third party. I think it may have been called Legends of Wrestlers, Legends of Wrestling, or whatever. But the one that it was in New Jersey on Saturday morning. I'm sitting there signing autographs, and then I got to see a lot of the guys that I haven't seen in a long time. Abdullah the Butcher was there, and he and I talked for a little bit. And Abdullah was telling me he's 76 years old.
Wow!
And I mean, he still looks the same. He's lost quite a bit of weight, but he's right in the face. And then another guy that I hadn't seen, and I can't tell you how long, but he used to work with for years down in Memphis and in Atlanta, was Ron Garvin. Ronnie Garvin was there. And he still looked great, and he and I talked for a long time. Then, of course, my buddy from Christmas Story, Scotty Schwartz, was there. And what do you think Scotty was doing?
Well, I couldn't even guess.
Scotty had a booth there, and he was selling
kisses.
He had selling what? Kisses?
Kisses.
What?
Or sticking his tongue on you. Sticking his tongue on you.
No, that's not. What is wrong with you? You're not right. Well, no, you know what? That would have probably made more sense than what he was selling. What he was selling was memorabilia. He was selling my those all sparkly shirts that I used to wear on Monday Night Raw.
What?
Yes. This happened about probably maybe 3 or 4 months ago. Scotty was here in Memphis, and he was at my house, and he made an appearance down at my club and everything. And what Scotty does now, other than just make appearances for Christmas Story, he and his dad own a big Hollywood memorabilia store out in Hollywood, California. And man, I've been in there twice. It is amazing. I mean, all of the different, the autographs and memorabilia and everything from all the Hollywood stars and the movies and that sort of stuff. And he is always on the lookout for stuff like that to sell at a store. So he came to my house about 3 months ago, and I'm showing him around the house, and then all of a sudden we come to these 2 huge closets that have about, I would say, maybe 300 to 400 shirts that I've worn over the years on Monday Night Raw. All the blinged out shirts and all the sparkly shirts and everything. Literally, I have like maybe 400 of those shirts because I would wear different ones every week. And this company, Xavier and Royalty, would send me these shirts, and I would wear them on Raw every week. So I had these tons of them here in my closets. And so he told me the last time he was here, he said, "Man, let me take some of those shirts with me, and you sign them, and let me put them for sale at my memorabilia store." And so we took a little time, and I signed him a bunch of shirts, and he took like maybe 40 or so shirts.
Wow.
And so anyway, then so here was Scotty at this event in New Jersey selling. We had a whole little booth there selling my shirts. So I mean, he's selling shirts, and I'm over there signing shirts, so that's what he was doing there. And then some of the worst news that I've ever had given to me, I received there right while I was sitting signing autographs that Saturday morning. I got a phone call from Lauren, and I answered it, and she said, "Adam West just passed away." Yeah. Man, oh man. I mean, it hit me like a gut punch. I just was like, oh, I mean, I was like, one of the biggest fans in the world of Adam West, and I just, I understand he was 88 years old, but I had just seen him not too long ago at a Comic-Con, and yeah, I mean, he looked 88 years old, but he didn't look sick. He didn't look in bad health or anything like that. So I was surprised to hear it, and it said that he had a short bout with leukemia, and I knew nothing about that. I didn't know that he was even ill or anything. So it was a big, bad surprise to hear about Adam West passing away.
Yeah, I mean, I know, Adam West to me is my favorite version of Batman, and even as I'm only 33 years old, and the '60s show and the movie was well before my time, Jerry, but. I watched the show when the reruns when I was a kid, and I watched the movie. I watched the movie all the time, and that was my favorite version of Batman and Adam West. And I know you have a replica of the Adam West's Batmobile in your garage. I know you're a huge fan. It's just yeah, man, it's
yeah. I mean,
tough.
I was a fan. When the show originally came on, it was just like it took the country by storm, and I was just right in that perfect age group, that perfect demographic that they were targeting. I was like 16 years old when the show came out, and I mean, I was mesmerized by it. I even went so far as if you just can't. A lot of people today can't even relate to a situation of sometimes you see an old show that's in black and white. Yeah. Well, a lot of people back in the day, in the early '60s. Everything was in black and white, all television shows, and Batman was one of the first shows to come out in this glorious, fantastic color, color shows. And then, but in my case, our family, we were kind of not on the, we weren't on a really well-to-do side of the family. We had a black and white TV. I mean, so everything we saw was in black and white because we didn't have a color television. So. When Batman came out, I was so taken with the show and knowing that it was in color. I met a girl in school that I I'm not going to say I did like her. She was my friend and everything, but I guess I sort of pretended to want to be her boyfriend just so that I could go over to her house every Tuesday and Wednesday afternoon and watched Batman, because her family had a color TV. So they would let me go over every week and watch Batman in color, and I was just I was a huge fan and remained a big fan, and one of the highlights of my wrestling life and wrestling career, and one of the most fun days ever in wrestling, was in the in the mid '70s. We got a chance to have Adam West as Batman on our wrestling show, and he actually did a little bit with me on the show. And so to have actually got to have breakfast, I got to actually go and pick him up at his hotel that morning and have breakfast with him, and then bring him to the TV studio, and then have him on the show. And we just did a little bit because we were actually there. He was in town in Memphis to promote a car show that he was appearing at with the Batmobile. He had the Batmobile there, and Adam West was there signing autographs at a car show. And I was going to be at the same car show signing autographs with my blood red Corvette that I had won from Handsome Jimmy Valiant, which was on display at this car show. And so Batman came on our Saturday morning TV show to help plug that event. And I think you may have, do you have the audio of the little set, the little situation that he and I worked ourselves into?
I do. I have the full version of his appearance on the show, and here it is.
You're going to be in town all this weekend, is that correct?
Yes, I am, and thank you very much. I must apologize. I didn't have a ticket. Kids, don't do as I just did. I sneaked in because I'm on a case. And I'm working undercover. That's why I'm not wearing my complete outfit. I wanted to be inconspicuous. I didn't want anyone to recognize me. But there is a rumor that Mr. Freeze and Penguin are here in Memphis because of the radical change in the weather, and that they have a hookup with the evil king of Memphis, who just might be wrestling here this morning.
Wait a minute. Do you know who this is?
Is that who I think it is?
Yes, it is. What is this?
Well, what does it look like? Tell me, what does it look like? I heard he was going to be here today, so I dressed appropriately. That's what it is, the Super King. What else?
Okay, you say maybe you're going to be able to give us some help with this guy here. You're on the case, and I think we're going to need all the help we can get with the King.
Well, now, I've heard he's had his troubles with the Joker and the Penguin and Mr. Freeze, but he hadn't handled the King yet. And I got somebody in a box that I'm going to bring out here in just a few minutes that'll make a Joker look like Mickey Mouse, I can tell you that.
I've heard about your box, but I want to say that costume that you're wearing, if you are indeed the evil king of Memphis, has been stolen from a friend of mine, Soup. Superman, I call him Soup.
Right.
And I think that Spider-Man, Spidey Baby, would probably object too. By the way, looking at you, I don't think it's too late for you. I think it possibly, if you changed some of your habits, some of your methods of wrestling, if you used your left and right turn indicator in your car, did other things that people normally do when they're polite and courteous, and you weren't such a naughty, mean person, it wouldn't be too late for you.
And I can see that you're not familiar with these rednecks that we have around here.
Rednecks?
That's exactly right. That's right.
I tell you what, gentlemen, I think splendid people to me, and they're Bat fans. I know they are. And I think it's insulting to call them rednecks.
I think maybe we better settle this elsewhere. And again, both of you are going to be at
Dr. Frank in here anyway.
Both of you are going to be down at the Cook Convention Center at the car show all this weekend, and maybe you can settle it there. Badman, appreciate you coming by, and
thank you very much.
Hope you can get us with a king here. No, he is not. He has some nasty habits, as you say, and maybe he'll change some of them.
I feel that it's possible that we could help rehabilitate him, possibly in Gotham State Prison.
Classic Batman right there with interaction with the Super King.
My favorite line was, he said, I could possibly be rehabilitated in Gotham State Prison. I love that.
But here, Washington Post wrote an article this past weekend about this appearance only. A lot of national media outlets were, retweeting the video. A lot of people were watching the video. But, every article I read, Jerry, it doesn't say that he is, but they kind of, hint at it, that he possibly was, either, a little bit tipsy. Is that true?
No, not at all. Absolutely not. I know for a fact. I mean, it was early in the morning. And I think that Adam West was just so out of his element. I don't think that he was familiar with being around a wrestling crowd or being on a wrestling TV show at all. As I said, he was in town to promote a World of Wheels car show event that he was going to be at, and I was going to be at it as well. And our wrestling commissioner, a gentleman named Mr. Guy Coffey, he was the manager of the Ellis Auditorium, which later on became the Cook Convention Center. And he also worked with our wrestling company forever as our wrestling commissioner. And so he was good friends with, I believe at the time, it was a guy named Carl Casper, who had this World of Wheels or these car shows that were traveling around the country. And so he got in touch with Carl Casper and said, hey, we do a live wrestling show every Saturday morning here in Memphis that has huge ratings. A lot of people watch it. Everybody watches the show. So if you want to send Adam West over and plug the fact that he's going to be at the car show, it'd just be like a big free commercial for the car show that day. So that's how the appearance came about. And I was fortunate enough, I was lucky enough, they asked me to if I would go pick him up and bring him to the TV station. And he was staying at the Sheraton right by the Cook Convention Center, downtown Memphis. So I got there at 9 o'clock that Saturday morning. Out he came, just of course, Adam West. He's wearing had the jogging suit that it just had on a jogging suit. I'll never forget it, like a dark navy blue jogging suit. And he gets in the car. I think we went to like a Denny's or something like that and stopped and just got a little breakfast. And our TV show went on live on Saturday mornings at 11 a.m. So I picked him up at 9. We went and got some breakfast. I got him to the studio at about maybe 10 or 10:15. And it was just amazing. I was like, I was like a kid in a candy store sitting next and driving Adam West, driving Batman. And I just couldn't, I know he got thinking, what is this guy staring at me? He just keeps staring. I couldn't take my eyes off the guy. I was mesmerized with this was like the biggest star that I had ever been around in my life, and not only was he a big star, but he was literally maybe one of my first, probably my second actual TV hero, other than my first TV hero was George Reeves, which was the original Superman from back in the mid 50s when I was just a little bitty kid. That was my first hero. Then of course Jackie Fargo was like my second hero, when I was watching TV is when I started getting into the wrestling thing. But then even before Jackie Fargo, Batman, Adam West was my, second after Superman hero. So here I was, sitting next to this guy. And then when we got to the TV station, he and I can understand. He said, do you mind? I could still hear his voice, the way he talked. And he was just such a gentleman, and the way he, is just, his English and his grammar and everything was just so perfect. And he said, would you mind if I didn't put on my entire costume, this early in the morning? Could I just maybe get by with just putting on the cape and the cowl and the gloves? And I'm like, there's Batman asking me if I mind if he doesn't put on his entire costume, And I said, my gosh, whatever you want to do, we're just so happy to have you here. So we put him out at the beginning. He suggested at the beginning of the show when we came on the air, he was sitting in the audience we would have a studio audience of about 100 people. And so here's Batman sitting in the audience with his mask and cape on, and with like 50 kids and adults just sitting there thinking, is that Batman? Are we sitting in the audience with Batman? And then of course Dave Brown calls him over to the desk, and you heard how the interview went. And I had already had I wish I could say I had it made just for that, but I had already had this Superman outfit simply because I was a big fan of Superman. I had the Superman wrestling outfit made that I had used on some shows earlier on, and so I wore that day. Since knowing that he was going to be there, instead of having a big red S on the chest, it had a big red crown. But other than that, it was like it looked like Superman costume. So it was just a great fun situation there to have on our wrestling show, and my brush with Adam West, and of course that just made me a bigger fan. And then I got to see him a couple more times at Comic Cons later on through the years, and then. So that's it's just a sad day for me to find out that Saturday that he had passed away.
Well, rest in peace, Adam West, and the movie and the shows and all his appearances will live on. And I watched Batman '66, on Sunday, just to reminisce as my childhood, because I loved watching the show as a kid, and it will live on. And that movie, really quick before we move on, Jerry, that movie has so many good actors. Burgess Meredith, who played Mickey in the Rocky movies. He was actually born in Cleveland. I'm not sure if you knew that.
Yes, absolutely. Yep. That was really cool. I saw a really neat piece of art that somebody had done on Twitter of it was like a back view of this beautiful stairway, like going up into heaven, into the clouds, and from behind you could see it was Batman from behind, and as he was ascending the stairs there was all the other characters that had already passed on, that was from the Batman TV show, which of course was like you said, Burgess Meredith, and there was Frank Gorshin as the Riddler, and the Joker was there, and then of course his aunt has already passed away, and Alfred the Butler, Commissioner Gordon, and Chief O'Hara, all of those characters were there waiting for him in their outfits, on the steps up to heaven. It's really, really neat piece of artwork. And speaking of artwork, I just a few weeks ago, I had finished. And it was still on my drawing table. I had just done a big, 18 by 24 portrait of Adam West as Batman. And I had done it. I was going to submit it to DC Comics to see about using it as an alternative cover on one of the Batman '66 comic books that they're still doing, and that was still sitting on my drawing table. So I just took it yesterday. I'm going to have some prints made of it and take it to the Comic Con this weekend with me in Washington, D.C. to have that available for anybody that might want to see them.
Jerry, so I hope you're not drawing anybody else. If that's a trend that's going to be starting, you're drawing someone that's going to pass away, in the near future. I hope you're not drawing anybody notable right now.
Well, look at this caricature I'm doing of you on this napkin right now.
Oh, no.
You want me to stop?
Please don't finish it. I don't want to die yet.
Oh gosh, come on, don't make. That's not funny.
I know. But you're a zombie, so you're a zombie though, so you're fine. But yeah, Adam West. Hope everybody enjoyed the audio of his appearance at Memphis Wrestling, and just a wonderful clip, and it's been shared and viewed hundreds of thousands of times, since Saturday, and a lot of people are reminiscing about that appearance, especially in Memphis, and when it comes to Memphis Wrestling.
Yeah, it's all of the newspaper, Memphis Flyer, and the Commercial Appeal have all called me and run stories about it, and our local TV station, the station that he was actually on back then, have done stories about it, and I just that was news to me about the Washington. It's amazing. The Washington Post newspaper covered the Memphis appearance. Yeah,
Washington Post, covered the whole just the appearance on Memphis TV as a wrestler. And I know a lot of wrestling sites, posted the video as well. So, a lot of people didn't know about that, and have been able to watch it.
Yeah, and one of the things that really has stuck with me over the years about Adam West, and it really, it really was evident that morning that I actually got to meet him and sit, 2 feet away from him in my car. Just what a nice looking guy. He just personified the look of a Hollywood TV star. I mean, the guy would just, he had that jaw line and, the little cleft in his chin. And I mean, he looked like a star. As the minute you saw the guy, you knew this guy was a star. And something about that, it stayed with me. And I think that's something that has almost been lost today. I think when people are celebrities or are seen on TV, whenever they go out in public, I think that they should, I think it's almost like you owe it to your public to look like what they expect you to look like. They expect, if you want them to think you're a star, I think you need to look like a star whenever you're out in public. And I've always, and seeing Adam West like that was always, was one of the reasons that I've always tried to do that. I say, I hearken back to hearing Jimmy Hart would tell me the story about the time that he and the Gentrys got to be on the Dick Clark American Bandstand TV show. That was a nationwide TV show. And I guess, they showed up to be on the show, and they all had these suits, real nice suits, and they were all dressed alike. And they said Dick Clark came over to them and complimented them on the way they looked. And he told them then, he said, just let me just tell you guys one thing that I've always noticed. He said, if you go up on stage and you're dressed like the audience, he said, pretty soon you're going to be sitting in the audience. And it was just, his way of telling these guys, you need, whenever you're out in front of the public or out in front of somebody, you need to look and dress like a star. And so that's one of the things that stayed with me. And that's one of the things I think about every time I see you, Glenn.
Me?
Now you're one of you're one of the stars of this podcast, and you're still with that scruffy beard over there.
I know.
Even all these weeks after I've told you about. Look at me right now. I mean, and this is not, it's early in the day, and I'm so clean shaven, and I'm trying to look the part whenever I go out, and you there with a scruffy beard. I'm going to tell you this one more time about the Dollar Shave Club, okay?
Okay.
Remember me talking to you about the Dollar Shave Club?
I remember.
Have you not done it yet? Obviously not. You still got the beard.
I still have the beard. I had the beard so it hides my fat rolls, my chins.
I promise you, Glenn, it'll be the smartest choice that you've ever made. It's like a no-brainer. You just need to do it. I mean, you say you grew that beard to hide a double chin, but I would imagine too that you were probably tired of having to go to the store to buy some cheap disposable razor. They'd give you a cheap crummy shave, and you're tired. Or either you were. This is what my problem was. I got tired of spending a fortune on all these razors with all these gimmicky shaves. That had 4 and 5 blades on it and all that. So I tried all of that stuff, and it cost a fortune. But then I smartened up. I joined the Dollar Shave Club. I mean, when I use my Dollar Shave Club executive razor with this Dr. Carver's shave butter, which is some absolutely awesome stuff, the blade just gently glides across my face, gives me such a smooth shave. Look, feel my cheek there.
So smooth.
Yes, I'm telling you. I mean, you just need to do it. You need to make the choice. And let me tell you and everybody that's listening how they can make the smarter choice by joining the Dollar Shave Club. Because for a limited time, new members can get their first month of the executive razor with a tube of the Dr. Carver's shave butter for only $5. Glenn, $5. That's like another order of the waffle fries there. Only $5, and that's with free shipping. And then after that, the razors are just a few bucks a month. It's a $15 value for only $5, Glenn, and I know how cheap you are, so you've got to do this. No hidden fees, no commitment. You can cancel anytime you like, and here's how you do it. You go to dollarshaveclub.com/king. dollarshaveclub.com/king, and then you get started. And I promise you, once you start, you will not stop. You're going to love it, just like I love it. Dollar Shave Club. Get with it. Come on, Glenn. Do it for me.
I got this text now from this 502 number, and they said they're here, and they're going to be walking in anytime soon. I don't know, but Jerry.
Well, I do know that 502 area code is Louisville, Kentucky.
Oh, geez.
Isn't it?
Yeah, I think that could be anybody, though, right?
Yeah, I guess.
Well,
anybody that lives in Louisville.
Anyway, before we get on to the next topic, I was a guest on another podcast called History Personified, and they do episodes about famous events or famous people. And Phil, the host, wanted me to come on and talk about you, Jerry, from all your career, your life, a little bit here in Cleveland, also in Memphis, in your career.
So now you're doing third-party appearances, and without clearing it with me. What's up with that?
About you, all about you. So I was like a Jerry Lawler historian on this podcast. So hopefully,
what do you know about me?
I know a lot, right?
Oh, okay.
Oh no.
What? What is it?
Jerry, look behind you. Look behind you. Look who came in.
Hey, how you doing there, guy? Jerry, how you doing?
Oh my gosh. It's Kenny Bolin.
Oh,
hey,
no.
if you don't mind, let me pull up a chair here and have a seat. You didn't start the podcast without me, did you? For crying out loud, I told you I'd be there in 5 minutes. I told Clay Conrad here that I'd be there in 5 minutes.
This is not Clay Conrad. This is Glenn Moore.
Glenn Moore?
Glenn, is this who has been texting you? Is it Kenny Bolin?
This was the number I was given. I was told to text you and let you know that I'd be on my way and that I would be an invited guest on the show, the first ever guest. Well, hang on here a minute. Here, let me sit down. Good God, Jerry. What this equipment is prehistoric. Hey, hang on.
Kenny, pull up 2 chairs.
Come on. Styles Bitchley, my driver. Come here, Styles. Do me a favor. Get in there and hook up one of my Bolin media microphones and get me my Beats by Bolin headphones so I can monitor this thing. We're gonna clean this thing up. I got a reputation.
You have your own microphone. You can just lean into Glenn's there. If you can.
No, I'm not leaning into Glenn's or Clay or whoever he is.
Glenn's going to be leaning into you. You've gotten bigger, Kenny. You have your own gravitational pull.
Glenn.
Scoot over, Kenny. Jeez.
I have not. But hang on here, man. Get my microphone plugged in there. Bolin media, the blue one. Get the blue one hooked up. And get me my headphone. Give me a second there. Let's get this hooked up.
Oh, goodness.
And I got a reputation to uphold here. You know I'm the podcast king, you know.
Yeah, you have a reputation. And you're going to find this out. The older they get, the better they work. That's what your reputation is going to be like from Kenny Bolin.
Okay, here it looks like we got 1, 2, 3. How's that sounding? Is that sounding all right?
Yeah, you sound.
Well, it sounds a little better than when you were just standing behind Glenn there.
All right, here we go. All right. Well, great. Well, Jerry, I just want to let you. Well, unfortunately, so you didn't tell Jerry I was coming?
I had no clue you were coming.
He did not.
I didn't. No clue.
He did not.
Well, Scott Bowden contacted me and gave me this number, and Scott Bowden said that the Jerry Lawler wants you to be his first ever guest on his podcast, and he wanted to change the name of it to Dinner with the Kings. And so he only had to add an S. So I said, well, I'd be honored. I'd be honored.
First of all, very few people know who Scott Bowden is.
Well, I know that.
And second of all, Scott Bowden is obviously still the habitual liar that he was years ago when he was managing for us here in Memphis, Tennessee. I have never told Scott Bowden to tell you that I wanted you to be on as my first guest. We were just talking about this a few minutes ago. I'm not having guests on the show.
Well, you got one now, so you might as well take advantage of it. I mean, who better than me? Who knows more about you than me? And we've had, come on, Jerry, we've had some issues over the years. I remember when I started at OVW, you started coming up there and you had a bit of a problem with me referring to myself as the king. And I tried to make it clear to you, Jerry, that I am the king of managers. I'm paying homage to you. I never once claimed to be the king of wrestling. King of manager. But you still seem to get hot about that. And I remember the first time, my first nice crown I ever had, I managed Rob Conway. I'm sorry, I managed Rob Dickin. Who the hell's that? I managed Bull Buchanan. That's who it was. See, I'm getting old. My memory's fading. But I was managing Bull Buchanan, and you were in a tag match with Rob Conway. And I thought we were going to have a nice, friendly match. You and I had been friends since 1974. And at the end, you said, Kenny, you forgot something. And I did. You had my crown in the ring, and I'm thinking, well, look at there. This is nice. He's going to give me my crown back. So you had me walk all the way back from the dressing room from the Louisville Gardens, came in there, and I was trying to be nice and respectful, and then you laid it in the middle of the ring. You said, come and get it, Kenny. Crawl and get your crown. So I said, all right, I'll do it. So I crawled. And what did you do? You took both feet, and you jumped up and down and stomped my $200 crown to death right in the middle of the ring.
$200? What is $200 anyway? I mean, where you get a $200 crown? Good grief.
Well, I was just starting, Jerry, for crying out loud. So,
well, Kenny, I'm sure you have all of those memories as you did from. Let me explain to everyone exactly who Kenny Bolin is to me.
Yeah, who is this guy? I don't know who this guy is.
Well, he's at least I met him. How old do you think you were when I met you? 14, 15 years old?
We met in the back alley of the Louisville Gardens. I believe it was in March the 9th of 1974.
See, that's why my mom was always right, and I never went bowling because she said nothing good will ever happen in an alley. And so that's why I stayed away from bowling. And that's where I met you in the back alley of, you need to explain that, because the back alley of Louisville Gardens is where the wrestlers had to park their cars and then went into the back door.
Well, exactly. And back when I first.
So that sounds bad right off the bat that you'd be hanging out in the back alley.
Now that I mention it, kind of does. But no, just to explain everything, I used to ride down to the Gardens. I'd moved to Main Street. My parents had gotten a divorce, and I lived on Main Street in LaGrange, Kentucky.
Because of you, I'm sure.
I don't think so. And my mother had met a lady named Lola Johnston. I don't know if you remember that name from the past, but Lola Johnston said, well, how would you like to go down to the Louisville Gardens and meet your hero, Jerry the King Lawler? And I was elated, because normally I'd go roller skating on Tuesday night. So we abandoned that. I'll go to the Louisville Gardens. So we
roller skating.
I was a great roller skater, for crying. Jerry, I haven't always been this big. When I met you, I weighed
300 pounds ago.
I weighed about 155 back then, I guess. So yeah, I was quite the skater. And so I was in the alley, and here come you and Jim White and Sam Bass. And I said, hey, King. Well, I didn't say King because you didn't have that name yet. I said, hey, Jerry. And you kind of smirked at me. And I spoke to Jim White, and he just kind of glazed at me a little bit. And Sam Bass actually spoke a word to me or two, and he was nice. But I want you to know that I stood in that back alley waiting to become, I guess, a year before you ever really actually spoke to me. And I think Jimmy Hart convinced you that I was the only fan you had. He noticed that out of 5,000 people in the Louisville Gardens every Tuesday night, that there was one guy sitting in the front row of the cheap seats, because that's the only thing I could afford back then, that this fool, is what Hart said, cheers for you. And he called me down during intermission one night, because Jimmy was not managing you yet. And he said, how would you like to meet Jerry Lawler? I said, well, my God, absolutely. So he arranged for a meeting for us in the back, back where Miss Jarrett did not like for fans to be. And I think he even got in a little trouble for that, for bringing me back there. But that was when I met you, and I got my first ever autograph of you.
Well, before you got here, Kenny, I was talking about the fact that I got to go pick up Adam West one morning to have him on our Memphis Wrestling show, and I was how starstruck I was. So I bet you felt the same meeting me as I did meeting Adam West.
I'll grant you that. I had three heroes in my life in sports, and number one was Pete Rose, and I got to meet him on the Paul Hornung Sports Showcase, and he was very nice to me. I loved Dan Marino when he played for the Dolphins. I never did get to meet him. And then you were my top three, and I'll go ahead and put you over right now. You were number one. And eventually, Jerry, at Oldham County High School, where I became, in middle school, the king of kickball. And that's where you and I... What? Will you let me tell the story and quit cackling? And I think I did.
You became the king of kickball.
Well, and this is how it all happened. And I know that over time, because, let's face it now, Jerry, when I met you, I was 14. I'm now 57. I was born in 1960. Wow. And you now you're no longer the 24-year-old young man that I met in the back who was setting the wrestling world on fire. And I even promoted you heavy. As you'll know, there was no internet back then. I don't even know if they had dirt sheets back then. I mean, eventually they came aboard, but people just didn't know. So everywhere I went, I promoted Jerry Lawler. I promoted you in Florida, Georgia. Didn't need to promote you in Tennessee. You had that covered. But all through the South, where all my relatives lived, I promoted Jerry Lawler everywhere I went. And sometimes they'd say who, and other times they'd say, oh, yeah, we've heard about him. We hope he comes here sometime. And so even back then I was promoting you. And one of the reasons I'm here today, you remember how I saved the restaurant where I said, look at this crowd in here today. Do you believe this? This time of day, this many people in here? And I'm going to take credit for that, because
these people were here before you got here.
Yeah.
Jerry, do you remember all the tweeting we did back and forth? You remember that monstrous, speaking of, hey, Barkeep, if you could.
These are not barkeeps.
They're not? Well, if you would, put me down for 2 of the big reds. 2 of the big reds, because we got 3 of them last time, and that was just too damn much food. So put me down for 2 big reds. And
2 big red splashes. My God.
Well, I'm going to eat 1 now and take 1 home. So, put me down for 2 of those if you can get those over to me. And Jerry, you wouldn't mind, would you?
If you ever get on an elevator, it better be going down. Is that right?
Oh, God. All right.
Hey, King, it's nice to have someone bigger than me and you to take all the jokes today. I like.
And look at that. Look, Kenny. I just realized that belt I gave you for Christmas, you're now using it as a wristwatch. What on earth?
Guys, I came 7.5 hours through heavy traffic with Styles Bitchley, my driver, who's not the most entertaining thing in the world.
You should have rolled. You would have came faster.
I didn't come here for all the fat jokes and insults. I have a mirror. I realize how big I am. Instead of you all congratulating me and patting me on the back for losing 130 pounds, you're all trying to ridicule me and I'll pull up 2 chairs. I'll roll to Memphis. Come on, guys. Cut me a little slack. Because
you've really lost 130 pounds.
Well, over the last 11 months, yeah. I mean, well.
You can still take a shower without getting your feet wet, can't you?
All right, let's get this back on a nicer tone. Okay. I'm here to help you. I saved your restaurant because when I was down there in Memphis to receive my plaque for the Memphis Hall of Fame, thanks to Randy Hales, and he told me that you encouraged him to reach out to me and have me come down. And even though I didn't work in Memphis, I battled and feuded with just about every top star from there at one time.
I saw you were here, but I didn't realize you received a plaque.
Yeah, well, they told me it was your idea. Yeah, but you're a shy and bashful man sometimes, and I if you don't want people to know you did it, I understand. You won't even take credit for the crown you sent me when you found out that I needed money for medications, and I sold the crown in my briefcase. And all of a sudden, a couple of weeks later, that beautiful crown that I know you've had for years shows up at my doorstep with nothing but Memphis, Tennessee is the address on it. Not even his exact address. It just said Memphis, Tennessee.
Not even my exact address, because it didn't come from my exact address. You think I sent you a crown?
Jerry.
Are you telling people that I sent you a crown?
I've told everybody you sent it to me because I knew you wouldn't. You're a proud man. You didn't want everybody to know that you were kind of passing the torch and just saying to me, hey, come on, you shouldn't have to sell your crown. I destroyed a couple of yours, so maybe I owe you a little something. I figured that was what your process of thinking was. Well, and I was very proud to have. I got it sitting right here by me right now.
I see that, but that certainly did not come from me.
Jerry, all right, you can keep denying it if you want.
So tell me again, why have you come down here? I'm looking at this. I'm considering you're crashing our podcast rather than being a guest.
No, I'm an invited guest. I'm the first ever. Scott Bowden invited me, and he said, "Clay."
Scott Bowden has nothing to do with our podcast. Absolutely nothing.
He said that he was the booker and producer of this show.
No, I am the producer and booker of the show.
He said your name was Clay Conrad, so something's a little screwy there already.
Clay Conrad was the announcer.
How'd you get this
name
number?
Of the announcer?
How'd you get my number? That's
on Channel 5 when we first switched over.
It's the number Scott Bowden gave me. How else would I have your number? So I didn't think I needed to explain myself, and I figured Clay Conrad would know who I am, so I wasn't concerned about that.
Glenn is his name.
Saying that. I think that's an alias. I really do.
And your microphone, is that really, your microphone is, I don't know what's wrong with that microphone you plugged in here.
There's nothing wrong with this microphone. I'm monitoring it through my Beats by Bolin headphones. I sound marvelous.
Beats by Bolin headphones.
Beats by Bolin. Well, that Beats by Dre crap was way too expensive, and let's face it, they weren't holding up that well. A lot of people
tell everybody that now you call yourself sometimes the king of managers, but your other nickname or your other moniker is Kenny Starmaker Bolin. How did that? Where I personally know, but for some of our podcast listeners who are wondering who the heck is this guy that's on there on this Crash Lawler's podcast, tell them about how the Starmaker name came about.
First of all, Jerry, I really don't think there's one person out there in this day and age that's wondering who I am. I think everybody knows.
Clay Conrad is,
and I'm still not convinced who the hell you are. So what happened was, as you know, I got on quite a roll there at OVW. You was up there for a part of it. Is he your paid sidekick comedian? Can you get Clay to shut up for about 5 minutes so I can get my stuff in for crying out loud?
Just don't throw him softballs like you got on quite a roll, because I've always said, lay down and roll, Jelly Belly, you'll make better time.
I just figured you two would have enough class with me coming all the way down here that you treat.
Okay, sorry, Kenny. You can
apparently, thank you, Glenn, Clay, whatever the hell your name is. So what happened is that I got on and we're going to say it again without the interruption, quite a role producing stars for the WWE. It was explained to me that was going to be my job. Kenny, you're never going to go to the WWE. I hope.
Who made that decision?
Jimmy and Danny Davis made that decision. They said, what you're going to do is you're going to stay here and you're going to produce all the stars, and you will be the continuing force. And I came up with the name Bolin Services. They wanted to call it Bolin Management and me have a BM on my briefcase. And I said, that's ridiculous. And actually, my brother, Biscuits and Gravy Razor, half-brother, came up with the idea that it needed to be a BS. And so the fans would chant, the word, and bullshit. And
listen, this is my podcast.
Yeah. I can't talk like that?
No, not at all.
Never heard that.
I know. And one of the other things that you haven't told everybody is, as a kid growing up in Louisville, Kentucky, you were best friends with Jim Cornette.
I was getting to that. And
what are you going to get into that? Look, we don't have, this is not a 24-hour long podcast.
Yeah, I mean, come on.
But now Jim Cornette is famous for he's got a great podcast as well. But I think Jim uses a little bit of salty language there that we don't do that here on this podcast.
Well, I figured if anybody did, you did. Well, man, just throwing me a bit of a curveball here. No, Jimmy and I, we just say whatever we want, however we feel, whatever works from our mouth, so be it. We're not edited. We're not bleeped. And
You're gonna be bleeped here if you say that word again.
Yeah, we're professional here.
All right, I'll try and hold back. But Jimmy was put in charge of developmental talent at Ohio Valley Wrestling. I was hired to train and develop. Let's call it what it is. Kenny, you're going to be in control of what we're going to hope are going to be bad guys, because I really don't think anybody here in Louisville likes you now, and I don't think they're going to like you later. I said, well, all right, I'll accept that, because I emulated you. You were the most hated man in Louisville, Kentucky for years and years and years. And then for whatever reason, you decided to cater to the fans. I was against that the whole time. But so my first big star I sent up was Bull Buchanan. You remember Bull. And then I sent up, I believe it was Mark Henry, the world's strongest man. And you and I together kind of helped make him famous. You brought him on television in WWE.
I had this first match with him on TV on Raw.
You did, and he wasn't seasoned, and he wasn't ready. And I think you were the one that said, man, this guy needs to go down to OVW and probably learn from Kenny Bolin how to do this business. So,
excuse me.
What?
Sorry.
For crying out.
Waffle fry.
Let's face it worked out. They sent me Henry, and in a short period of time, I sent him back up. And then, oh, my God, here comes Rico Constantino. And then, oh, my God, here comes John Cena. And I want you to know, and there's a DVD to back me up on this, Vince McMahon didn't think John Cena had what it took. He wanted to let him go. He wanted to release him from his contract. And you know what I said to Vince? I said, Vince, you're a fool. There is no way. Well, I told some people to tell Vince that. I said, there's no way that John Cena needs to be let go. And Danny Davis agreed with me, and Jim Cornette agreed with me. And guess who else agreed with us that helped battle to save Rico Constantino's, and John Cena's job? None other than one of your old buddies, Stone Cold Steve Austin. He believed in him too, because he'd come here to the Louisville Gardens, in Louisville, and had a great show, and they loved Cena, they loved Rico. So we had a meeting with Stephanie McMahon, and I want you to know they gave him another 90-day extension to put him on the roster. Rico got another 5 years, and guess who's still up there, the face of the company, Kenny Bolin's own creation, John Cena.
Now, you can't take all the credit for that's ridiculous. For you taking all the credit for John Cena being the star that he is today.
Who else would I give credit to? He was in my stable. I developed him. We had another manager there, Jimmy Cornette.
You know what? I remember coming up there and wrestling him myself.
Yeah, you. As a matter of fact, I think didn't you win that night?
I think I probably did.
It was in a pouring down rainstorm with 5,700 people. jammed into the Six Flags Stadium that was only designed to hold 4,000, and there was another 1,700 outside in the pouring down rainstorm trying to get in to see Jerry Lawler versus John Cena, managed by none other than Kenny Bolin. And I bought me a brand spanking new $200 gray suit from Value City that night, and that rain.
Value City.
Well, they were next door to the park. It was
hold
easy
on.
access.
Hold on. I think you were buying drapes.
And I know you still have that suit, and if you keep wearing it, it'll come back in style.
Regardless, the suit got wet, and when I was standing in the trailer at the end of the night, getting ready to say my goodbyes, and it was the end of the road for John Cena. He was about to go up full time with WWE, and my suit started leaking gray ink all over the floor. Danny Davis was laughing. I'd never seen Danny Davis laugh in my life. And he was laughing with tears coming out of his eyes. You were pointing and laughing. John Cena was laughing at my $200 suit that was ruined because I had to manage him in a pouring down rainstorm.
Oh, my goodness. I remember that. I told you that night. You dressed pretty good for a man who's obviously colorblind. That was just the worst looking suit and outfit that I'd ever seen. And you're right. The rain did ruin it. So you had to go buy a new suit, which was obviously did you a favor.
Well, the money I made that night managing him against you, I was able to buy a few suits. Thank you very much.
Oh,
so,
really? They must have paid you more than they did me then.
Danny was a little tight with the money for the big stuff.
Danny Davis was a little tight with the money.
It's a little tight. So I can testify to that under oath. So that just keeps rolling, though. And then finally gets to the point to where Lance Cade and Mark Jindrak are in Bolin services, and they are really wanting to get called up. And we're having a discussion in Danny and Jimmy's office, and both of them look at me and said, Kenny, your streak is over. There's no way that you're going to send these two, Bumble, and I won't say the other word being you asked me not to. There's no way you're going to get these two idiots to the WWE. Your streak is over. Well, I want you to know that 3 weeks later, Cade and Jindrak got called to the WWE. And when I went to the ring, I said, Jimmy, you're going to have to admit. He said, well, yep. Here he is, ladies and gentlemen, the Starmaker himself. I'd never been called that. I was always called Kenny the King Bolin, King of Managers. And I said, you know what? I like that, because this way maybe Jerry will back off from me a little bit. He'll get over this jealousy of me being known as a king as well in Louisville. And I'll just be the Starmaker from now on. I like that name. I think we can make that work. And I think you'll have to admit, Jerry, I've got a lot of mileage out of the name Kenny Starmaker Bolin. But Cade and Jindrak made it. I told Jimmy, I said, you looked at me like I had a smoking turd hanging out of my mouth when I told you I would get a smoking turd. I was also... Well, I was told I was
in a restaurant, man. You can't.
I was told, Jerry, that I was the only man ever to say smoking turd in my mouth on. Well, I was told I was the only person to ever say it on TV in the history of wrestling, and I was proud of that.
Well, I'm sure you were. Who else would ever even think of a choice of saying something like that?
And I was wondering why there's so many kids in here today, but I forgot school's out. This place packed with kids today. I thought he's all playing hooky, eating your barbecue. So that's how I became Kenny the Starmaker Bolin, and that's why I'm here today. Because as you know, once I retired from wrestling, and well before then, in 2008, I started doing a thing called a podcast, and I was among the first to do it. Jerry Jarrett heard me do one, and here's what Jerry Jarrett said. You respect Jerry Jarrett, right?
Sure.
Well, Jerry Jarrett said, and he didn't even know me yet, because Jimmy Cornette would never introduce me to him. And as a matter of fact, you didn't either. But he said, after hearing me on countless podcasts on Who's Slamming Who, that was the first network I ever worked for, he said, Kenny Bolin is the epitome of professional wrestling. I never know when he's working, shooting, or just, he can't fool me. I'm Jerry Jarrett. And I think that him and Cornette really hurt each other. Well, he was right, because I've been pissed at Jimmy for, can I say that? I've been pissed at Jimmy for a long time.
But go ahead.
Jimmy hid me from you, or tried, when you took over Memphis. He hid me from Jerry Jarrett. He told me that Jerry Jarrett was going to interview both he and I was going to be the wrestler, he was going to be the manager, and I don't know if you remember saying this or not, but I'm going to remind you. Do you remember on Memphis television when you once said, you know what, Lance, you guys better get ready to say goodbye to me, because I've done about everything in wrestling you can do, And when I hit 35, you're not going to see Jerry Lawler anymore, because I'm not going to be one of these guys that hangs around well past his prime. I'm going to move on, and you're never going to see Jerry Lawler again. I'll be down on a beach in Cancun somewhere, and it's going to. And I was sad and depressed. Jimmy was too. I'm thinking, my God, we're never going to see Jerry Lawler again. That's sad. That's depressing. But I said, well, maybe this is my time dinner. Then I can step in, and I'll be the king. I'll be the king of Louisville. I'll be the king of Memphis. Well, I want you to know that Jimmy went on that interview by himself, never mentioned me once to Jerry. And I found out in a payphone on Main Street in LaGrange, Kentucky, that he had that interview, got the job, and didn't even mention my name. I said, well, what about me? You said that you was going to get us both in, that you lay the groundwork. You're the photographer. You had all the access to Jerry Lawler, Bill Dundee, Jerry Jarrett. Where's my job? Oh, well, Kenny, I'm just going to lay the groundwork. I'm going to get in there and lay the groundwork, let everybody know who's running things around there. And I bet you within 6 months to a year, it's going to be me and you, and we are going to take over the wrestling world. Well, I was all right with that. If he wants to get in there and do the dirty work for a year, I'll come in and clean up after that, because I was a lot better than Jimmy. I was a better manager than him. I was certainly a better wrestler than him. I was 212-0 at Oldham County High. Did you know that? You probably didn't know that. You know what my name was there? Takedown Bolin's what they called me. Takedown Bolin.
Kenny, the story is dragging on. Could you make like your head and come to a point?
All right. Well,
where are you going with this?
The point is that I saved your restaurant. I've started promoting it. I put all that great food out there, and I resurrected Jerry Lawler's Barbecue. You can't keep people out of there now. I'm going to do the same with your podcast.
And so but you blame Jim Cornette for you not ever making it into the WWE. So. And you and he were neighbors in Louisville, and I guess whoever loved thy neighbor never had one like Jim Cornette, because you don't love him anymore, right?
Well, no. We still realize that for business purposes, we got to deal with each other, because now that you've left, we're the two big deals in Louisville, Kentucky. So for that purpose, we have to deal with each other. But
you know what's great about technology today is that while the three of us are sitting here at the table, I get a text message from that says, "Give me some kind of signal when you want to wrap this guy up."
Do that text.
Who do you think that came from?
Like Conrad?
Yeah, like Conrad.
Oh, crying out loud! No, man, because I still, Jerry. Just let me help you with your podcast. Let me upgrade your microphones. Let me get you the good headphones. Have me like Jimmy Cornette has done. Jimmy Cornette's top-rated shows have been when I've been on the show. The only person ever to beat me was Stone Cold. Well, I understand your Undertaker episode did very well, and that was one of the top-rated shows in podcast history.
Well, I don't mind. We didn't have the Undertaker on the show.
Yeah, it was the topic of the show. Well, I'm better than that. You can have me on. I'll come down here once every 6 to 8 weeks if you want me to. If the ratings are dropping, call Mr. Bolan. I'll be there. I'll have you back, Jerry. I'll have the microphones for you. I'll have the head at a fee, of course. But I'll take care of you on that. And speaking of podcasts, I'm getting
Clay,
ready.
Listen, he's true. I mean, what he's saying is true. And Kenny is the kind of guy that, I mean, he just sort of, you kind of creep into your heart and you kind of creep into your mind. And in fact, you probably never find a bigger creep anywhere than Kenny Bolan. So if you ever book him on this show again, Glenn, you're going to have to be looking for maybe a job with Kenny Bolan.
I didn't book this guy. I didn't book this guy.
You had to book him.
I got his number somehow, and Scott Bowden is the link. So apparently Bowden's in pretty tight with Clay over here, and you didn't know it.
But Jerry, hold on. Jerry, do you realize, Jerry, that just your little spiel you did right there, he wolfed down one of these big red splashes? Do you know he ate one and that quickly?
How do you eat and talk at the same time? It's amazing.
It's a talent. But no, I understand y'all on a time limit here. Maybe you don't have the facilities and things that me and Jimmy Cornette have. But before I go, I'm getting ready to start. I'm going to premiere the new Bowling Alley on a brand new network. I got my notes here. Let me take a look here. Yeah, Arcadian Vanguard. That's going to be our new network. And you should know that network real well because it features Brian Last in the super... what's he call it?
Wait a minute. Now I realize what he's doing here. Do you realize what he's doing here, Glenn? He's just come here to try to plug his own crap.
Jeez.
That's all he's trying to do. Look, this is not a venue for you to plug your what is it? You got a new podcast and a new podcast company that you're trying to plug.
And Kenny, we have paying sponsors that pay us money to come on and plug their product. You're getting free advertising here.
Well, no, it's not going to get free because we're not going to do it. You're going to have to leave, Kenny. We don't want you on here plugging your whatever that is you're plugging.
Promote bolinpod.com where you can hear my show, where you can hear Austin Idol live. He's your old buddy. You're not going to crap on Austin Idol, are you?
I'm not Brian Lance. I'm just. This is not what this is all about. This is not what this is designed to be. I mean, you're
at the 605 Super Podcast. You won't let me promote him either.
Oh my gosh! Listen to this guy. What are we doing here, Glenn?
I'm trying to help us both. I'm trying to help
Kenny. I'm going to say you've worn out your welcome. I'm not even going to thank you for being here because you were not invited. And trust me, I'm going to take this up with Scott Bowden if you say he's the one that gave you our number. Because yeah, we'll make sure that doesn't happen again. But anyway, Kenny, it's been nice. I think maybe we should.
No, it hasn't been nice because you all crapped on me since the minute I sit down here. I hate to take this to a different tone with you because I have respected you. I will even say loved you for 43 years, but you have crapped on me since the minute I sit down here. All I've done is try to help you and help me. I ordered food. I got another round of the big flash coming, and I don't know if you've
cops. That's what we're going to have to do.
I'm calling him.
Notice, Jerry, but I'm not a 14-year-old kid anymore.
Well, listen, I don't want to have to get physical with you or anything like that. So we'll just have you escorted out of here because I know for a fact that's the only way you're going to leave.
Let me explain something to you. If you dare lay a hand on me after me coming down here and spending my time to try and elevate your show, I won't fight you. I'll sue you. And the next podcast that's held out of here will be me and Brian Last doing the new Bolan Alley, and I'll own this one and any other franchises you open. So
I know you won't do anything because you're too heavy to run and you're too fat to fight. So all you can do is, like Andy Kaufman, you're going to threaten to sue somebody.
Well, I'm not threatening to sue you. I will sue you if you lay a hand on me. You're a violent.
Did you make the call?
Yeah, the cops are coming.
I'm going to better not be no damn cops coming. I'm going to sit here and I'm going to eat my goddamn meal.
Easy. Hey, just leave.
A crock of shit the way you're treating me right now.
Just get out of here.
Not leaving. I'm going to eat my meal. Oh, so why don't you just pass me the torch? Pass me the crown. Admit that I made you the king. Can't you do that? Can't you just throw me that big of a bone and let me eat my damn meal? And I'll go home and promote your food like I did last time. I'll promote your podcast, and maybe you and I can be friends instead of you treating me like dog shit every time I come down here. You didn't even hang around for mine and Jimmy's Q&A.
Glenn, did you make the call?
They're coming. They said they're about 2 minutes away.
You're talking about your Q&A. Your Q&A had to be shut down at my club on Beale Street with you and Cornette just because of the language that you're trying to use here on this podcast. We're not going to put up with it, so just get out of here.
I am not going. When I'm done eating my last Big Red Splash and when I've drank my last drink of Mountain Dew, then on my own time, I will get up and go.
All right.
You're not going to tell me because you don't want to lose this restaurant, so I ain't going any damn where.
Okay.
Thank you. Styles, pull the car around. I'll be out when I get damn good and ready. So I will just have my meal here, and I'll just finish eating. If you want to engage in some kind conversation with me without calling me fat and making references to my weight after I've lost 130 pounds, maybe, Jerry, you and I can get along, but I ain't going any damn where. What the hell? What? You really called the damn cops?
Please, get him out of here.
Can I see some form of identification?
I ain't going any... No, Get your damn hands off me. I'm a king in this town.
Place your hands on top of your head.
No, damn it. Please, no. Get my microphone, Styles. No, come on.
Good grief.
You know,
Glenn, what on earth?
I swear, Jerry, I had no clue this was going to happen. I don't know how you got my number. I know you don't want any guests. I don't know why you crashed.
I got a great idea. Let's don't even air this.
We have sponsors, Jerry. We have to put something out there.
Oh my God.
You know,
that is the worst ever. He's still screaming.
Well, now
they'll never fit him in. They'll never fit him in the back of that police car. They're gonna have to bring out a paddy wagon.
I have a question though. Can I have his waffle fries?
Oh my gosh. Let's just look. That's it. Okay. Are you?
Sure. Like I said,
Can we get the check? I'm sorry for the scene that we've caused in here today, and Glenn, this can't happen again. Okay.
like I said, I'm sorry, King, but before we go, I had to let everybody know what you talked about before, and that's Dollar Shave Club. And new members can get their first month of the Executive Razor and a tube of Dr. Carver's Shea Butter for only $5 with free shipping. Yeah, free shipping. After that, razors are just a few bucks a month, and that's a $15 value for only $5. You can get yours at dollarshaveclub.com/king. That's dollarshaveclub.com/king.
The preceding show is a Pod Avenue production.